the cloud. So this is my last session of Studio Week. So sad, but also very happy because that means we're almost done, and that means we get to check out a bunch of cool projects and continue working together to make cool things. So I think today's session is mostly going to be like me passing along some resources and some information to you all, answering any questions you have, and then also just potentially checking out some video content. But I really want to dedicate this time to any questions you have about kind of like next steps after you've learned all these skills and you kind of have an understanding of how to like work in the industry, or at least work on these different projects. There's a lot of different roles, as we've talked about over the last week or so. There's a lot of different roles that can be fulfilled in the context of scoring a film, and every role is equally important. Sometimes you're going to be the lead and sometimes you're going to be an assistant, and either way you're going to be valued in your position. It's just like a matter of deciding what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and that skills that you want to develop or skills that you want to primarily offer to people as a composer. So let me pull up this handy dandy thing called a PowerPoint. So you're a film composer. What now? Okay, so here I have kind of made a general list of skills, general kind of characteristics and things that you want to have an idea of or begin working on, that will enable your success, as a student, learning how to do these different things as a professional, and kind of just as an all-around human being. So, specifically working in the context of film and composition, more specifically, it's important to have an understanding of being able to read and write music and notation softwares, a lot of these different things we've talked about in various sessions over the last couple of weeks, if you've joined us for both sessions. So music transcription, we have some great conductors here, and those skills are going to take you far also, because a lot of the times, depending on the project, let's say you're scoring a project and they don't have the budget for a conductor, then you'll be able to step in and conduct your own pieces and kind of fill that role in the process, which can be really fun if you like conducting, and it can be really terrifying if you don't. Booth reading, which is just like being in the booth and helping to be connected with the conductor while your live musicians are performing in the actual studio and you're in the booth. Having a deep knowledge of the instruments, we've kind of talked about this a lot in the context of orchestration and instrumentation. The Sadler book that we've talked about many times now will give you some great tools and resources for understanding the different instruments, but really, like, Carla was kind of saying yesterday in the session, the best way to get to know all the different instruments is to ask your friends to demonstrate for you, ask them what they can and cannot do. Ask them to borrow, their instrument for an hour or two, just so that you understand the facility, or even just watching videos of folks explain how to play and make a sound on their instrument from a beginner will give you a lot of insight. There's many different ways to learn about the instruments, and you just have to kind of find a system and a process that works best for you. So if you have any questions about that and specifics around that, we can talk about it. You want to have an idea of how to work with MIDI material and how to produce MIDI material and using sample libraries and synthesizers. Excuse me. It's also very important to be a strong communicator. Like, I know that we're all composers, and some of us are composers because words are hard for us. myself included, even though I write lyrics sometimes to try to push myself to become better with words to express emotions. Having strong verbal communication skills will take you a lot farther than being a prodigy composer, quite honestly, because you're working with people. You're not working with you're not working with instruments, and you're not working like with MIDI tracks. Like, you're working with real people, and they need you to be able to understand social cues and understand how to show up in a space in a professional way, and understand how to show up in a place that's like less formal and casual, and kind of be yourself and be really easy to work with and personable, and have your kind of own authentic personality, and being confident in yourself. Something that is very unappealing to folks in no matter what part of the industry really is like when you start to apologize for your existence, and when you start to apologize for your work. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your work, how do you think you're going to get a team of producers to give you $2 million to produce a film score if you don't think that you're worthy of the investment, and that your energy and time put into the score is going to produce something high quality, or that's going to produce something that is worth the investment? I personally do really well with putting myself out there and being really authentic and confident in myself. And it has taken me further than my skills as a composer, or even as a performer. Like, it's really just about the goals that you're trying to achieve, because I'm somebody who likes to learn a lot, and somebody who's very hands-on and is very analytical, and always trying to make myself useful or helpful in any kind of context. And also, I really believe in the philosophy of working smarter and not harder. Hard work is important, but hard work has a time and a place. And, it's important to have a balance between the two, but doing only hard work is not going to give you the benefits and the success that you individually want. And only working smart is not going to give you the quality of work that you want sometimes. So it's about finding a happy balance between like putting your best out there, but also, being pretty savvy, because time is of the essence. We don't always have months and months and months of time to produce a project, or to get an idea, or familiar with a particular environment or project. So it's really important to know what you bring to the table. And if you don't know what you bring to the table, then fake it till you make it. That is a very, very useful strategy. For example, in my experience, I've been working in the music, and I started my formal music education at Michigan State in 2016, even though I had gone to school for something else prior to that. And, because in my situation, my parents were not helping me pay for school. I was paying for school out of pocket, and I was already in school. So I just kind of had to like work smarter and not harder, and find a way to make it all work. While also trying to learn and develop several skills like writing for a large ensemble. So during my last year of undergrad, I was commissioned to write a wind ensemble piece, simply based off of a woodwind quintet that I had written, or a movement of a woodwind quintet that I had written and shared with somebody in my community. And they're like, "Oh, well, have you ever written for a large ensemble?" And I was like, "No. Obviously, like, I have the capacity to do it, and I have the tools and the skills to do it, but I've never had the opportunity to work on a project." And I think that it is very smart and wise to get paid to learn how to do things. So, I got paid to learn how to write a wind ensemble piece. And, that helped pay for a portion of my tuition for that year, which was really, really great. And even the project that I'm getting ready to work on now, I think I've told some of you, but it's kind of a secret until it's not, because they're probably going to make an announcement about it soon. But I'm working on this like collaborative commission with Juilliard Pre-College Orchestra and the New York Philharmonic. And I have written orchestral works. I've written certain things before, but this will be my first commission with a big orchestra. And, you know, I'm getting paid to basically learn how to do this, and I'm getting paid to figure it out in my own terms, and where I'm at in my understanding of how the ensemble works and what my ideas are right now. So you can convince people to give you money to learn how to do something. Again, working smarter and not harder. Just because, you know, we do this out of love and passion, like this is still our livelihood, and this is still something that, you know, some of us do for work. So it's important to get paid for your work. And even as young developing composers, you can get paid. You don't have to do free work. If anybody works with me, like my interns, like they're paid. I pay them what I can, but you don't have to do free labor to get the experience that you need. And a lot of the times, you know, people are asking you to do free labor that can tell you, you know, sometimes it's like a skill swap where it's like, I don't have the money, but I have this opportunity and this platform to give you, and it's worthwhile. But sometimes, you know, people not wanting to give you money is because they undervalue you and they undervalue your service. And those are the situations that you want to look out for, in which you're going to have to spend a lot of time and energy investing and creating in something, and then you have what to show for it, aside from, like, you know, potentially a really high quality piece that you enjoyed writing. But overall, like, understand your value, put your best foot forward. Even if you're not super confident, it's something to work on, and it's something to like fake until you make, because it's really like about how you present yourself and how you present your ideas that'll take you the furthest, and not sitting around waiting for the opportunities to fall from the sky. Like, you know, this commission that I'm working on, like I was saying, like, while I'm getting paid to learn how to do this thing, I also had to put myself out there and apply for this particular program that is, you know, allowing for the collaboration to take place. And I had to interview with them and explain my ideas to them about how I like to collaborate and what things are important to me in terms of working with instrumentalists and also people of varied ages. So long rant, but very, 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 very important things to know. Okay, I think I've kind of hit everything on this page. You know, arranging and orchestration, music theory, instrumental performance. Like, if I think pretty much everybody here plays an instrument, and you should continue to play that instrument and continue to practice that instrument, because you are going to want to have the ability to be a performer composer, because if you plan on making this your livelihood, you are going to need multiple streams of income. Scoring the films are not going to pay the bills all at once and not immediately. So it's important to just diversify your skill sets and get experience, paid experience in whatever musical related things you can, because you're not always going to be like doing the one thing that you set out to do. And that's kind of like the good and bad thing about music, the music industry, and going to music school. Any questions? All right, on to the next. Okay, so this, again, I think I said this earlier. I'm gonna make sure, like this afternoon, what I'm gonna do, because I didn't get a chance to do this last week for any of the sessions I did either, but everybody's gonna get access to all of these presentations so that you can check out this stuff later, and so that you can come back to this if you're looking to like upgrade any of your equipment or utilize any of these resources. So, you know, we've had tons of questions all week. What is this? How can I use this? What's a good thing for this? Da, 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 da. Here's some short, fast, sweet answers for you. Some of this stuff you guys are already using, and some of this stuff will be things that you can potentially invest in, or have your school pay for, or ask your parents to help invest in for your creative process. And so we talked about a bunch of notation softwares this week. Most folks use Finale and Sibelius, or Noteflight, which is like more of a beginner. Noteflight and MuseScore is like more of a beginner introductory notation software, which is like a place that you want to begin, but you don't want to stay because it will limit your writing. And then finally, we were talking about Dorico at dinner the other night, which is super compatible with Cubase, which is one of the DAWs that's listed here. And it basically is kind of like a DAW and a notation software in one. If you go to any of these notation software websites, they should have information about like a cross-grade upgrade. If you already own one of the notation softwares and you want to try another one, you just need like your little serial number to confirm that you own one, and they will ask you to verify that, and they'll give you some type of discount. And also if you're in school, they have like educational discounts for a lot of these softwares. Sometimes the cross grade is cheaper than the educational discount. So just something to think about. Again, just a list of DAWs to reiterate your options. You know, Carlo gave us the lowdown a little bit on Ableton, but we know that it can do a lot. I personally use Logic Pro X, and then like I said, Cubase is another DAW, and Digital Performer and Pro Tools are more of like what some industry veterans use, because they're kind of like older, like I don't want to say they're like dinosaur DAWs, but they're definitely like first generation DAWs that have had to evolve over time to stay alive. But they're really commonly used in the industry. I would say like the bottom three, well, all of them are used equally, but as you're getting to do it on your own and kind of doing like the more independent film scoring thing, you know, it's more likely that you'll use Ableton or Logic Pro X. So, you know, we've kind of been talking about sound design and sound libraries and getting our compositions to sound like a high quality recording or a high quality mock-up of our musical ideas and visions. And these are just 3 suggestions for sound libraries that you can access. I know some of you have already accessed the Spitfire audio stuff that you're utilizing this week. East West Sounds has a million different options for different sound libraries and different genres, instrumentations, sound effects, like it goes on and on and on, the different options and resources that they have. And so does Native Instruments, which I think is like compatible or comes from like the same company as Ableton or Fruity Loops or something like that. Like they're all kind of like under the same umbrella. And then on the right side here, just some list, just a list of some different products you can buy that'll be helpful if you're looking for new headphones. You know, these headphones that I'm using are the AKG K371 First Class closed back headphones, which I listed here. They work really well. I really enjoy them. It does make a difference to have a pair of high quality headphones when you are working on automated sound and when you are trying to produce an EQ sound. So you want to give yourself the better quality headphones so that you can hear everything. And of course, you know, it's going to sound different on headphones than it is going to sound on the speaker. So as you're developing your own studio and workspace and workstation, it's important to have like studio monitors. So like while you're writing with your headphones on and then you're ready to listen back and you take your headphones off, then you have like these high quality speakers right in front of you, giving you a different listening experience, and will also be able to tell you what you might need to fix in the EQ or fix in the mix. And then, you know, I use these PreSonus studio monitors. And finally, just like a MIDI controller, an interface. Some of you probably already have some of this stuff, but I just wanted to make sure it was listed and reiterated just in case anyone didn't have access to this. This Akai mini thing, it's like 25 keys. It's really, really small. It kind of has like one of the little pad thingies. I can't think of what that's called, the technical term for it. But you know, the mini MIDI controllers are really great for travel. I don't have mine on me right now, but mine is not that one, but it's like a generation before it. So it's like, it was only like $60. It works really well and is not heavy. So it's, like I said, it's great for travel, but then you can also, you know, invest in like an 88 key or a 61 key MIDI controller that can stay at your home. And you can just plug into your computer and utilize that way. But if you already own like an electric piano or some type of MIDI controller, obviously you can just connect it to your computer and utilize that as a MIDI controller into your DAW or into your notation software. However you choose to do so. And, you know, getting a interface, like one of the Focusrite Scarlett 4i4 is like the most common one. They're like $100. They have 2 inputs and they're really good for, recording small projects at home. If you have like a singular microphone that you want to plug in, or you want to plug in your electric bass or your electric guitar, there's an input for that, and you can just go straight into your DAW, record the sounds. And additionally, like, Carla and I were talking about the collaboration we did yesterday, and we basically just plugged in my condenser microphone to his Focusrite interface in his little tiny New York apartment, and just recorded right in the middle of the apartment. So you don't need a big fancy studio to get high quality stuff done. And you can do a lot of stuff from home, as I'm sure you all know. It's not post pandemic, but in the times that we are living in, it's pretty clear that you can do anything from home. And I'm just affirming that, we did something just very spur of the moment and with very limited resources. And it came out really, really great. The last thing on this is that you all need to get an external hard drive. If you don't have an external hard drive, what are you doing? I need you to order one right now, because your sound libraries need to go on there. All your backup files need to go on there. Any current projects you're working on, any renditions, anything, you just need to make sure you're constantly backing up your files, because you will get to a place where you're working on a project and it's 2:00 in the morning and you forget to save it, and it's time to do the reading at 6 a.m. And look, what happens? Like, oh, your computer crashes and now your whole piece is gone and you're miserable and you're sad and you're crying. But if you have a rendition of it backed up to your external hard drive, then at least you have a place to start. And kind of, you have 4 hours to get it together, but at least you don't have to completely start from scratch. So just reiterating that it is super duper important for you to back up your files. And also, just to roast Carlo a little bit, because he's my friend and I can do that. The reason why his Ableton was shutting down like that yesterday is because he doesn't have his sound libraries and his Ableton stuff set up on an external hard drive, which, like, he's mostly working from a laptop. So it's like slowing down the processor driver via Zoom and all of these different things. And I have been heckling him for weeks to get it together so that it would stop slowing down his process. But it makes a difference. And it is very scary when you do lose your projects, or your stuff shuts down, or your drivers are just not communicating. And it can be incredibly frustrating in the creative process. So just do yourself a favor and set yourself up nicely so that you don't have to worry about losing files and you don't have to worry about disruptions in your process. Just get a hard drive, put everything there, and then you're golden. Okay. Next is talking about finding your community. So a lot of questions have come up this week about networking. I don't network. I'm constantly just looking for more community members to call my friends and family and my collaborators. And that includes, like, working with you all. Like, we are all a part of a community now. So as we've spent this time together over the last week or two, we have made connections and we have gotten to know each other as musicians and human beings. And you all are really fantastic creators and have really bright futures ahead of you. So, we're a part of a community, and, I'm always going to be a resource to you over time. Like, that in 20 years from now, if you still need something from me, you can call me if you have my phone number, or you can email me if you still have my email address and it's the same address. Like, we are forever connected through our connection through this community and through this program and working together. So, it is really important for your individual journeys and your individual success to find and establish a community of folks that you like to be around and that you feel safe and comfortable and that you can trust to be honest with you and to give you constructive feedback and to uplift you as a creative and uplift you as a human being. Because more than half of this job is just dealing with your humanity. Like, you spend all of this time in music school learning about how to do these different things and learning about music, and it's like, oh, I need to make sure I understand the difference between a major 7 and a minor 7. But, like, in the real world, it's like, okay, sure, that's kind of like expected for you to know these things. But, how do you respond when somebody tells you that you don't understand transposition, or that this line is not idiomatic for oboe, or that, the drums are too loud? if you're not finding yourself around people, or you don't have the correct communication tools to be able to be like, to be able to respond professionally, or to be able to respond respectfully, or if you are facing people and you're interacting with people who don't have those tools to respond effectively and efficiently to you, then you know that those people are not necessarily the people that you want to be collaborating with. And a lot of times people will say like, oh, like, well, what happens if, like they want this specific thing and it's not me, or like they're talking really badly towards me, or they're not really making me feel safe, or like they trust me, then those are not the people you need to be working with. There are plenty of people who make music, and there are plenty of creatives who are not going to ask you to compromise your sense of self to work with them. And if somebody makes you feel unsafe, or if somebody threatens you, or threatens your work, or devalues you, or demeans you in the process, those are not the people you need to be working with. Those people are not a part of your community, and you don't have to continue to work with those people. And I'll share a personal anecdote. In working on a lot of concert music over the last few years, I've had to fire people who've commissioned me because they don't understand the collaboration and the commissioning process. They feel like it's McDonald's. They can talk to me any kind of way and demand that things be this way because they're paying me for a service. And I have said, actually, no, like this is a collaboration. I'm not McDonald's. My name is Jordan Davis. I'm a composer. I'm a creative. I'm a person. I have a heart. I have feelings. You're not about to just text me and communicate with me any kind of way and demean my experiences and demean my voice as an artistic person and a human being. And I don't have to put up with this. So I fired them, and I premiered the piece and invested the money in the commission myself. And the piece specifically, just to give you like a full scope of the story, some of you all know that I was in Chicago last weekend for the premiere of a piece for my for a string quartet that I wrote. And that piece was one of the pieces that I ended up firing the initial commissioner for. So, just, you don't have to put up with people mistreating you is the point. There are going to be people who are going to want to make you feel included and are going to want to work with you and hear your ideas and hear your perspective and utilize your authenticity in their project. So don't be afraid to just like show up as who you are. And like, if somebody attacks you because of that, then that gives you a clear indicator that those are not the people that you need to be working with. Get as much experience as you can. And, always putting yourself out there and asking questions, especially from elders, like people really admire a young person asking questions and just trying to learn and lead with your humanity. So, when you're applying for internships or you want to become a composer assistant, just like reach out to somebody that you admire and say, hey, like I'm looking to do this thing. If they live in an area that you live in, go to their concerts, go to whatever workshop they're doing, go to an online masterclass, pop up in a Zoom call. I think I also shared, kind of an anecdote the other night, like about how I started learning Dorico. Like I literally met that composer on a Zoom call. Like she has several Grammys. She's like really well known in the jazz community. And that was my first time meeting her and really learning about her. And she's like, I need help. And I was like, well, I'm moving to New York and I need to work and I also need to do this thing. So I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Like, let's connect. And then as soon as I moved there, she hit me up. So it really is just about using your own individual energy to make connections with people and finding the right community for you. And it's going to look different for every single person, but just know that your tribe exists. You just have to find them. We're all spread out all over the place. And it is possible to find your own niche in your own community. And last but not least, like not everything related to business has to be transactional. Commissions don't have to be simply transactional. Like I prefer not to do transactional commissions because again, like we're not McDonald's. It's not a made to order service. It should be a collaboration and it should be something that you're doing together. And it should be something that there are equal balances or equal parts of investment in. So even, working, for example, like as a copyist, like that doesn't have to be fully a transactional experience. Like somebody could hire you to do copyist work and you do the work and then you say, oh, like I really admire how you did this and I have a question about this. And then that's how you get yourself from like one job to another, because then that person like, okay, you're my paid copyist, but now like maybe I'll hire you to be like my full-time assistant or my amanuensis. Like one opportunity can lead to another just based on how you decide to utilize your resources. And just because somebody is paying you to do something, again, it doesn't have to be like money thing transaction. Like it can be a collaboration. Okay. Just a few resources / websites in general that you all should start utilizing now and have some type of familiarity with for posting your portfolios or your demo reels. We didn't really talk we didn't talk this week about creating a demo reel specifically and like the intents, the details of that. And we don't really need to because a lot of the times it's kind of like case by case situation and what the people are looking for. But what you can do at the very least is sign up for an online platform that at least holds some recordings and some examples of your work. So we were talking about Bandcamp yesterday. That's a free service that anybody can use, and it can be a free placeholder for people to access and purchase your music. So if you have professional recordings of your music that you want people to be able to purchase, you can put them on Bandcamp and they can pay you for them. And same for your scores, I believe, because at one point when I was using Bandcamp when I first started off, I was using it mostly as like my website because I couldn't afford to have a website. So it had my pieces that were available and it had like my merchandise and a place for people to like purchase things from me so that I could continue to make the work and I could continue to record new pieces. Another one is SoundCloud. Everybody needs this. It's not a place where people can purchase your work, but it is a place where people can easily just take a listen. And, you know, I think I have two different SoundClouds. I have one that's like for my composed away stuff, which is like singer songwriter and like my weird chamber ensemble. And then I have one that's like specifically for my compositions. So that includes like any film music that I've done, any concert compositions. Those primarily live on that SoundCloud. But it's really great. It's a really great resource to use, especially like when you're applying for commissions or you're applying for different educational workshops or programs. People are going to always ask for a sample of your work, and it's really easy to just send them a SoundCloud link because that's all they really want. Squarespace, Wix, and WordPress are all three platforms to build your own website. If you're a student and you have a EDU email address, you get 20% off of Squarespace for like your first year if you use it. I'm not sure what the deal is with Wix and WordPress. I used Wix a long time ago. It's a nice platform. I personally prefer Squarespace just because it requires, it gives you some more professional looking templates and it's just kind of a bit more aesthetically friendly. And, you know, Wix and WordPress are more like I haven't been on Wix in years, but I'm sure like Wix and Squarespace pretty much do the same thing. They're like, we have templates, we have you choose whatever, and you make your own website. And then WordPress is more like, so you want to code, you want to DIY this 100% and like really customize it to yourself. If that's something you're interested in, then you can totally do that on WordPress. And also WordPress, I don't think they charge you for certain things. I know that Squarespace and Wix can be a financial investment to some capacity. It's not super expensive, but it does require money. And then WordPress is something that you can do completely on your own. And then finally, like Dropbox and Google Drive. We've been using the heck out of Google Drive in this camp, so I know all of you have the capacity to use that. And Dropbox is just another place for you to store your stuff online. And while we're talking about the external hard drive, you also want to have a cloud storage space where your work goes, because you will be traveling and you won't have your hard drive cable, you know, or you won't have the right adapter or something, and you want to be able to pull up a file or pull up a score easy at the ready and just have it sit in your Dropbox or in your Google Drive, at the very least, so that you have access to it. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this. And then just some final kind of like general resources. There are 3 other film scoring workshops that I would recommend folks check out. The first one is the Palomar Film Workshop, which takes place in San Diego, California. This is the workshop that I attended back in 2015 for the first time. And it is led by 2 of my mentors, Roger Neal and Larry Groupé. And they are veterans of the film industry. And this is also where I met Gary Scheinman, who actually is on faculty for this Hollywood music workshop that happens in Vienna. Not saying you need to go all the way to Vienna to learn about film scoring, but it is an option if you want to take a vacation, or you can get your school to pay for a research trip or a study abroad or whatever. And you're like, well, I want to go learn about film scoring in Vienna. Go do it with Gary Scheinman, because he's a great guy, and the rest of the faculty there are really phenomenal. And then also, if you want to come to New York, NYU does a film scoring workshop in the summer, very similar to this one, but it's way more expensive, obviously, and you're going to be in New York. And I'm sure with that program, you also get to, record with a live studio orchestra and work with an orchestrator and just have some more resources at the ready. But again, it's, kind of costly to do some of these programs. So, if you are in school and you can get your school to pay for it, make them pay for it. You shouldn't have to pay for these things. It's like educational and professional development is how it's justified in the expenses. So those are 3 workshops that I would recommend. And then if you have any other questions about more or the specifics of any of these, I can obviously answer your questions at any time. And then this is just like a list of books below that also, like I said, I was going to give you guys access to this. Some of these have hyperlinks. I think all of them should. Yeah, they all have hyperlinks. Can't see. Okay, let's go back to this. So yeah, the orchestration book we were talking about yesterday, does this link go straight to the PDF? Let's see. It does. So congratulations, you have access to this book now, and you have no reason to not know your transpositions or how to score for different instrumentations, because now you have access to this. So congratulations. What's next? This jazz arranging and techniques book is something that I utilized in my jazz school. We are all required to take a jazz composition and arranging course. If you're somebody who is interested in learning about how to write for jazz ensemble and learning more about the techniques and the styles that are utilized in jazz ensembles, that you want to incorporate it in your ways of diversifying your styles of music to help you better compose in film music, but also in other styles of music, I would highly, 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 highly recommend this book by Gary Lindsay. I think this is also a link to it. Let's see. Yeah, it's the book. So, educational purposes. We're not selling these, we're not just trying to rip off these folks. We're passing along resources for the sake of your education and for the sake of your development as composers. And then there's also an orchestration workbook that was kind of put together by Berklee College of Music, which we all know. Some really great perspectives and insights in that book. It's like 26 pages. It's like a really short PDF, so it's not like a textbook like the first 2. And then just a list of some other books that you can check out. The Complete Guide to Film Scoring, On Track, and then All You Need to Know About the Music Business, and this book on music supervision. Outside of all of these other books that are more specifically about scoring and techniques, All You Need to Know About the Music Business is kind of an older book, but if you want to get some historical context for how the music industry works and why it's important for creatives and musicians to know the industry and know some of these terminology when you're working in situations in which you're getting paid, or in situations in which you need to protect your work or you need to sell your work. There's just things that everybody should know. And if you are a creative who doesn't know anything about the music business, then you will meet somebody in the business who will try to take advantage of that. And if you're a business person who knows nothing about the creative, you'll still get taken advantage of in the system and in the industry, because unfortunately and fortunately, like, we live in a capitalist society and it's all about the money and it's all about the capital. So I'm just saying that it's important, like, while it is, important to know your scales and your modes and your transpositions, it's equally important to know, like, what an LCC is and how to copyright your music and how much money you should be getting paid to do something. Because somebody somewhere will pick up on your energy and your lack of awareness about something and try to undercut you and try to undermine you as a creative, or just not pay you what you deserve. So I think we're at time, but do we have any questions? What's up, Iggy?
So let's say I were to like set up a website and I set up a commission area, how would I decide like what prices? Because I know I would probably like to have it so the person who's commissioning me sends what project they had in mind, and then I I would tell them the price, but then how would I decide what that is?
That's a great question. There are some resources online, which I'll just add to this PowerPoint, on commission prices and like how to decide how much to ask for a certain piece or what you can generally charge for a certain piece. At the end of the day, you can ask for whatever you want to ask for, and it just depends on how much money that your collaborator has to give to you. So don't be afraid to ask for what you need or for what you want. But there are some kind of like standard, I guess, numbers that folks use. I mean, like, we're also living in a time of like, uh, looming recession and inflation is happening. So like, you need more money than you realize. And it's important to just kind of have some context about what people are asking for. And you can always ask for more, but what it is important is to ask people what their budgets are for a project a lot of the times. And try to be as flexible as you can without undermining your own needs, if that makes sense. Cool. Any other questions? It's okay if you don't have any right now. If they come up later, we have plenty of time, because I know this was kind of like a lot of information, a lot of different perspectives to think about. So what's up, Becca?
Are you putting the PowerPoint like in the studio folder?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. That's what I'm going to try to do. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. Obviously, never stop asking questions and never stop. I mean, I was going to say never stop bugging me, but you don't bug me. So that doesn't really make any sense. But this has been really great. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.